Outlines in CSS. Now, outlines is a beautiful concept introduced in CSS. As we learned in the box model, every element has its own padding, which is the internal spacing. It has a margin, which is the exterior spacing from its surrounding objects. And it also has a border, which takes up space around it. And as we increase the thickness of the border, that too takes up the space. Now, an example over here we have is I created these two divs and I've given two classes to them, P1, P2. And in both cases, I've assigned some sort of a coloring to them. Also, I've given a border to both of them, which is about 15 pixels thick. So let's say if I imagine to change this border to 35 pixels instead. And what you see is this border takes up a lot of space. And as it is, the border has ran out of space to be taken over. So it has started to squeeze the content inside. Now, this could be problematic when you're trying to utilize some sort of an effect where you want to show a surrounding line around a component or an element that you have created in HTML. The simple solution for that is outlines. Let's take an example of outline over here. Now, how you define an outline is very simple. It is simply declared with the color that has to be provided, that is outline dash color, width, that is how many pixels, what type of outline it is. Just like border styles, you can set styles to your outline, which could be dot, dashed, solid, or even inside, outside, grooved, etc. I'm going to use solid for now. And yes, it also has a property known as offset. We'll take a look at what that is after a minute. If you see, this has created an artificial border around our element. And if I increase the width of this element, if this outline, the outline width grows just like a border. However, it is not taking up the extra space in and around the element. It seems to be overlapping other content. As you can see, the div below, it is taking up the space on that. So suppose if I happen to make it 55 pixels, it appears to overlap the div below it. So this is rendered around the content, but it is also rendered outside of the purview of space. So it is not going to consume the space around it. It is simply going to overlap anything else that comes in its way. This could be useful when you're creating some sort of a guided pathway animation. For example, when you're first time opening a web application and you get these pointers pointing towards different buttons, you must have encountered that in a website or a mobile app. And that's done using effects like these. So I'm going to restore this back to 5 pixels now. And you can see it is a 5 pixel thick border like line around the border. And mind that this is around the border. If I happen to introduce a margin around this, the margin space takes up extra white space around the element and the border is also intact. So margin is outside the border and the outline is actually sticking to the border. And the outline sticks to the border unless and until you introduce a offset. An offset is a distance between the border and the outline that you have created. Now I set a 5 pixel offset for the outline. Let's increase that to 15 pixels. And you see the space between the border and the outline has grown. You can use your own colors to it. You can also use your own styles to it. So let's say instead of a solid outline, I want to use a dashed outline. That gives me a dashed style. Or I could use something known as an inset, which is not very visible with the blue color. Let's try a red color for that. And you see, you get this darker red lines on the top and brighter red lines at the bottom. That would be exact opposite when I use outset. These are the same styles that are available for borders and they're also available for outside, outlines. That's about it for outlines.